Prince Harry and Meghan Markle returning to the United Kingdom has once again unsettled the public conversation in ways that few anticipated, yet many quietly expected. Their return, even before it fully materializes, has reignited tension, speculation, and visible unease across political commentary, royal observers, and media platforms. This reaction reveals far more than a simple family reunion ever could. It exposes unresolved dynamics, fragile narratives, and a deep discomfort with influence that exists outside institutional control. What makes this moment particularly significant is timing. King Charles has received formal invitations that place him visibly at the center of national and international attention. His presence reinforces continuity, stability, and leadership. At the same time, reports suggesting that Prince William and Catherine may be planning to be outside the country during this same period have sparked intense debate. Whether coincidental or strategic, public interpretation has filled the silence quickly. In public life, absence often communicates as loudly as presence. When senior figures appear to remove themselves from moments of heightened attention, observers naturally ask why. This is not driven by hostility alone, but by pattern recognition. Over time, patterns shape perception more powerfully than statements ever could. Harry and Meghan's return carries symbolic weight. It is not simply about geography, it is about visibility. Their presence disrupts narratives that have attempted to reduce their relevance. It challenges years of messaging that framed their departure as an ending rather than a transformation. Since stepping away from royal duties, Harry and Meghan have remained globally influential. They speak directly, engage openly, and operate beyond the constraints of palace-managed messaging. This independence has altered the balance of power in subtle but significant ways. Influence no longer flows in one direction, it circulates. That shift unsettles traditional structures. Institutions built on hierarchy depend on predictability. Harry and Meghan represent unpredictability not through chaos, but through autonomy. They cannot be quietly managed or redirected. Their voice exists regardless of proximity. This is why their return generates anxiety in certain quarters. It reopens unresolved questions. Why were their concerns not addressed sooner? What responsibility was shared? What could have been handled differently? These questions do not disappear with time. They resurface whenever visibility returns. Against this backdrop, reports that William and Catherine may be abroad during the same period take on meaning beyond scheduling. Public interpretation does not assume fear in the literal sense. Instead, it suggests apprehension about comparison, about attention, about public response. Harry and Meghan draw focus effortlessly. Their presence does not require spectacle. It exists naturally because their story resonates with themes many people recognize. Autonomy, emotional honesty, resistance to rigid expectation. These themes hold power in a modern public increasingly skeptical of silence and tradition without explanation. William and Catherine, by contrast, represent continuity and institutional responsibility. Their role depends on maintaining stability, restraint, and alignment with long-established norms. This contrast is not inherently negative, but it becomes tense when public sentiment shifts toward authenticity over formality. In moments like this, optics matter. Leadership is judged not only by action, but by willingness to engage with complexity openly. When absence coincides with controversy, it invites interpretation, even if none was intended. King Charles's position adds further complexity. As monarch, his role emphasizes unity and continuity. Invitations extended to him during this period reflect an effort to maintain national focus beyond internal family tension. His presence signals steadiness, even as private relationships remain complicated. For many observers, this creates a striking contrast. Where the crown seeks composure, underlying dynamics appear unsettled. That contrast fuels discussion, not because of scandal, but because of unresolved narrative threads. The UK media response has been intense. sections of the press have reacted with visible backlash, often framing Harry and Meghan's return as disruptive rather than contextual. This reaction reveals more about media anxiety than about the couple themselves. For years, certain outlets relied on a fixed portrayal of Harry and Meghan. They were framed as divisive, problematic, or fading from relevance. Their continued global influence undermines that framing. Each return to the UK contradicts the idea that they have been sidelined. When narratives fail, backlash often follows. Rather than adapting, some media voices double down. Language becomes sharper. Tone grows defensive. Repetition increases. This pattern signals loss of control over audience perception. Public trust in media has changed. Audiences are more critical, more analytical, and less accepting of one-sided storytelling. Many viewers now revisit past coverage with fresh perspective. They notice inconsistencies. They question motives. They compare tone. Harry and Meghan benefit from this shift not through promotion, but through consistency. Their messaging remains measured. Their demeanour remains composed. They rarely engage in direct rebuttal. This steadiness contrasts sharply with fluctuating media narratives. The idea that William and Catherine might feel unsettled is rooted in comparison rather than confrontation. Harry and Meghan project independence. William and Catherine embody duty within structure. One path emphasises personal truth. The other emphasises institutional continuity. Neither path is simple. Both carry cost. But the public increasingly relates to authenticity expressed openly rather than discipline maintained silently. This shift does not diminish the monarchy. It challenges it to evolve. Media backlash reflects resistance to that evolution. It exposes discomfort with conversations about emotional well-being, accountability, and personal boundaries. These topics disrupt traditional expectations of endurance through silence. Harry and Meghan's return brings those topics back into focus. It reminds the public that departure was not abandonment, but self-preservation. That reframing has gained traction over time. Fear, in this context, is not panic. It is uncertainty. Uncertainty about influence, about loyalty, about narrative authority. Institutions accustomed to control struggle when public alignment shifts beyond their reach. The UK media backlash also reflects fatigue. Some outlets appear frustrated that the story refuses to conclude. Each return reopens discussion. Each appearance invites reassessment. Instead of closure, there is continuation. King Charles's role remains delicate. As both father and monarch, he embodies the intersection of personal and institutional obligation. His participation during this period suggests a desire to rise above division, even when reconciliation remains incomplete. Meanwhile, perceived absence elsewhere speaks volumes. Whether planned or coincidental, it invites scrutiny because leadership is often defined by presence during challenging moments. Distance can appear cautious rather than strategic. This chapter reveals a broader transformation within public life. Authority is no longer unquestioned. Respect must be maintained through transparency as much as tradition. Harry and Meghan symbolize this shift, regardless of intention. They do not threaten the monarchy through opposition. They challenge it by existing independently while remaining relevant. That distinction matters. The backlash from parts of the UK media is less about Harry and Meghan personally and more about control over narrative direction. When audiences stop responding as expected, institutions react defensively. This moment is not about winners or losers. It is about contrast, about who engages openly and who withdraws, about whose presence feels confident and whose feels cautious. As Harry and Meghan prepare to return, public interest remains high not because of scandal, but because of unresolved meaning. Their story reflects broader cultural shifts around voice, identity, and autonomy. Attempts to diminish that resonance only reinforce it. Silence does not erase influence. Distance does not eliminate relevance. The UK media backlash serves as a mirror. It reflects a struggle to adapt to audiences who demand nuance rather than instruction, empathy rather than judgment, balance rather than blame. History will interpret this period with greater clarity than present headlines allow. What seems threatening now may later appear transitional. What feels destabilizing may prove necessary. Harry and Meghan's return to the UK is not an endpoint. It is part of an ongoing evolution in how public figures, institutions, and media interact. The discomfort surrounding it reveals how much remains unresolved. In the end, this moment is less about fear and more about adjustment. Adjustment to a reality where influence cannot be managed through distance alone, where authenticity holds value, where public trust must be earned continuously. As this chapter unfolds, one truth remains consistent. Harry and Meghan continue to matter, their presence continues to resonate, and the reaction to their return reveals far more about the system responding than about the individual.